obviously, if you're doing 10 gigs and they're all shit, you're doing something wrong.
Right, the writing's on the wall.
If I can't fix it, then that's it. I don't want people to love me. I don't give a shit. But if, like in a 5 out of 10 audience, there might be one person who really likes you. They're there forever. You come back. That's better than a mediocre gig where 50 people are like, it's an all right night. Yuck.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comedy Writers Group podcast. My name is Marcel Blanch-de, your intrepid host, whatever that means. Back for another week. My guest. So I got to remember sometimes I go, hey, this is your first time listening. You might know that this is a one-man operation. The Comedy Writers Group is a podcast where we get into the weeds. We glimpse behind the curtain. We make the pursuit of comedy a little less mysterious. We have a community of folks. We have a podcast, but we also have a Patreon community that you can sign up to. It gives you access to a Facebook group full of great resources, people exchanging ideas, asking questions, getting advice. We also have 5 online sessions a month where you can meet professional comedians that will help workshop your jokes with you and all sorts of extra tidbits like that. Go on to Comedy Writers Group Patreon to learn more about that. You'll see the links in the show notes. Luke Heggie is on the show today. Luke is one of my favorite comedians. He's one of the all-time greats. He wouldn't tell you that because he's too humble. But if you chat to people in the know, then you would know. You would know how great he is. I say to be finishing this tour and going, all right. So, but are you writing the next show?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Are you the sort of person that will start integrating next year's show into this one, or do you keep it?
Keeping separate, so I know.
Uh-huh.
But then in between, we're going?
Yeah, we're in it
Yeah,
now.
Fuck. Different. If I'm at home in Sydney doing open mics and stuff, I'm doing all new.
Yeah.
And then on the road, my old show, you just try to remember both. But whatever.
Here's the thing. Okay, I'm winding down for the year.
Yeah.
Mentally, spiritually, physically. You're finishing the tour for this year's show and thinking about the next year's show. Where does Heggie get his stamina from? Is the question.
I don't know. I think I'm running on fumes at the moment. But as I get older, it's going to get harder, I think, because the memory's going to go and all that sort of business. But
is it being a dad with bills to pay? Is that the central motivator? Like what?
Fucking everything.
Right.
Yeah. I backed myself in where I'm into a corner. I mean, not the good one. Where festival's the only time I can make money and do my own show. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going back fucking building. So that's the sort of thing that keeps you. I'm obliged to write a new show every year, but I will run out of puff.
But there's been because here's the interesting thing I feel as well about you is that there's you on stage, there's you off stage, and there's also how you get talked about as well. I'm sure in all sorts of ways.
I don't want to know.
No, but there's sort of things like, Heggie, he's still on the job site. He's still on the, like, how true was that? Is that still true that you are still?
No, about 2 years. Last 2 years I haven't had to. Mm-hmm. It's been good. I'm not going back. I fucking hate it. I mean, it's fine. Like, it's good, for you and everything, but I'm too old for it.
Right.
But there's also, like, I don't suffer from the stink of working. Like, a lot of comedians, like, it's a real fuck off to them to have to work. Like, I'm a full-time comedian. You wouldn't be if you had any responsibility. Like, it's not easy.
They got into this because it didn't feel like work and they didn't want it to feel like work.
But they live like shit. Get a job. Plus, you got to talk about something.
I guess as well, it's what your cost of living is down to. Like, if they can make it work I just have to afford cheesels, then they can.
Of course.
I'm picturing a very particular comedian that's their one priority.
Yeah. But then, I mean, if I was in that position, I'd probably be the same. But because I'm not, I like to sneer at it.
Because you have bills to pay.
Yeah.
You have dependents.
Yeah.
And most comedians.
Fucking grow up. I don't care. Whatever. They can do what they want.
But you're out there, part of your special low breed starts with you building your own set.
Oh, yeah.
How much of that is I can get the job done versus this is persona that I want to create?
Oh, I'm not creative. I've never been more offended in my life.
Well, I guess what the question is, because you're a practical man, how much of that is deliberate? Like, how much of it is like, oh yeah, this is part of, because you've decided, or someone's decided, your director has decided, hey, we're going to make part of the filming also you building this at the start of this.
Well, I kind of did that. That was during lockdown. We were at home. I was out building during the day, and then at home I was just scavenging shit off the building site and bringing it home and making that as a project. And that was little bits filmed on a phone. It wasn't meant to be part of the show necessarily. It's just there. It's just a bit of it.
Okay.
I'd be ashamed to pay for a set. Fuck on. Plus, I don't want to spend the money. But Well, I don't mind doing that. It's just arts and crafts, isn't it, for grown-ups?
But I guess this is just the fun thing, and I love that you're a little uncomfortable about that idea of persona too, because I guess I just want to know, what's intentional and what's accidental with that side of things.
I don't know. I'd like to think nothing's really that contrived, but I don't know. We all have different things with comedy, with what you're doing on stage.
Let's rewind a little bit to talk about that idea of making money, because a lot of people who listen to this show are new comedians going, how does anything work?
Yeah.
You, a few years ago, if my memory serves, and please fill in the details, and we don't need to go into your bank statements.
Yeah.
But like you were doing back-to-back shows, like many shows a day. Yeah. Once again, the stamina question comes in, but was like, from a financial standpoint, did you just figure out this makes more sense to be overloading myself with performances?
I've always been a work a day sort of player. I don't give a shit about, like, I'm not a weakling, so I can work. And like, if I'm working 1 hour a day doing stand-up, I can do 3 hours. Right. It's not that hard. It's not like an actual day of work.
Yeah.
So I'd do as many as I can. And if there's a demand for your little room you're filling, I'd fill every show I fill. In that sort of few years ago, I was like, this is like a week of labouring I'm not doing.
Yeah,
I do fucking 10 shows a day.
Well, this I guess this is the thing for other comedians going like, what's it like to have demand?
Yeah. Well, it didn't just turn up.
Yeah, exactly.
15 years of slog.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, this beautiful gives me an opportunity to then flash back to the beginning. You do raw comedy. When do you start sniffing out that there's money in this?
I didn't really. Just sort of did the job for a number of years.
Because did you just sort of fall into doing stand-up?
Yeah. I didn't have no desires as a young. Wasn't a born to entertain type or anything. I didn't touch a microphone until I was 35.
Yeah, right.
So it was never my thing or anything.
So how does the first one happen?
Just sort of a dare. Did it, went all right, kept going. That's it. I thought it'd be written off to one of a series of bunch of stupid shit I've done in my life, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
But it went all right. If it didn't, I wouldn't have done a second gig.
Right.
Which blows my mind that people do a second gig.
If they bum the first one.
Having said that, I didn't know about mental illness till I started comedy. It's for them, and of course they're persevering.
Now that is the title of a future Heggie book, I reckon. What? I didn't know about mental illness until I started comedy, and it's you a bunch of case studies of comedians that you've encountered.
Yeah.
Through the Heggie lens.
Well, most except me got something quite wrong with them.
I reckon by the end of this episode we could figure out something.
All right, if you want.
Heggie is the perfect specimen. I mean, no, my brain is going a little bit faster than it ought to. So I totally get what you mean there. But I think there's also a curse when that first gig goes well, because for a lot of those other comedians, they go, oh, that first gig went well. I'm excited to do the second one. And the second one goes badly. And then there's a career or years of trying to chase how that first one went.
Chasing that first high.
Yeah. Because that first audience was excited.
Yeah.
So that I must be good at this.
Well, yeah, there is that. But also, I'm still now, if I do 3 shit gigs in a row, I'll think I should give up.
Right.
A lot of people don't have that filter.
But I've also seen you do gigs. Like, I remember, this is years ago. I think it may have been like in Crow's Nest in Sydney or whatever. And it just wasn't a great night for any of us. I think I was emceeing and you were headlining. And for you, and once again, fight me. No, clarify if you want to. You will do your act as it is. I describe you to new comedians as an on-rails comedian, that you will do your act without any pandering to an audience. Be like, oh my God, you're not liking me, please like me. You will do your act. And I watched you that night do your act unfazed by the audience being a 5 out of 10. Some of them liking you, some of them not liking you. But now you're also saying that you can only take so many of those gigs before you
only
doubt
within
things?
myself. Like, you know, obviously, if you're doing 10 gigs and they're all shit, you're doing something wrong.
Right, the writing's on the wall.
If I can't fix it, then that's it. I don't want people to love me. I don't give a shit. But if, like in a 5 out of 10 audience, there might be one person who really likes you. They're there forever. They'll keep coming back. That's better than a mediocre gig where 50 people are like, oh, it's an all right night. Yuck.
Was it a choice that you made to go, I'm not going to be a crowd worky, pandering comedian trying to get people on board?
I don't really have a choice, I don't think. Same as material, I don't have a plan B.
Right.
So they're getting that. And I don't give a shit. I'll change. Like now I've got a bank of material. I'm like, I better not do this bit about this because it's going to turn everything. But it's only out of obligation for it not being a shit night for everyone. I don't care for me anymore. I think this is the thing, is that there's so much incongruity with you in that you are both a really nice guy off stage, but your persona on stage is like, I don't even know how to describe it. A fuckhead. I think, like, not for everyone, but I think comedians should generally be the worst version of themselves on stage. That's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
You can be. Like, of course, I'm not fucking walking out and bashing people in the street. But if I say that on stage and that's a part of your joke, whatever.
Yeah.
Grow up if you're taking everything literally.
And you also speak with conviction. Everything's a statement. There isn't like, oh, what if I did this? It is always, I'll bash that guy.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no question mark to it, which I think also then places it in reality. So people then go, oh yeah, Heggie is doing this stuff.
You do get misconstrued by the thicks. But if people are on board and they get it, then it's great. But often people will come up after and go, good on you, mate. Good. That was great. I hate women too. You go, whoa, I didn't fucking mean them like that. Like, you know.
Well, that's the other thing too, is that is the target of the joke. You are a very sophisticated joke writer, and people would get the wrong impression. Are you worried that you could get too many people in your audience going, I also hate women?
If it happened regularly all the time, and I started to have all just angry men coming to my show, that'd be a worry.
Yeah, I might adjust that joke.
There yet. Like I don't think I would get there. I don't
a lot of comedians have built their career on leaning into those moments. Yeah.
But it's a danger, especially getting older too. Your opinions become more of a certain bent. And I'm not there. I don't want to be. But yeah, you are in danger of just courting whatever's making you money. I've never had money, so I don't give a shit. I'm just going to say whatever and see what happens. Yeah. Those anti-woke ones, the ones who call themselves that's generally fuckheads.
Yeah.
Like it's not always, but generally the ones who are railing against the wokes trying to shut me down. It's a sort of mantra of the irrelevant. And they're really pushing hard for that as a narrative.
Yeah.
Like everyone's trying to stop me. You know they're not.
They don't know who you are.
Absolutely they don't. And I don't give a fuck.
And also define woke. And they're like, I don't know, annoying people. Like, you don't even know what you're upset about.
I know.
Yeah.
But it's generally, like all comedians should be on the definition of it anti-woke, because you don't want to be told what to say. But it doesn't mean you have to be an arsehole about it. You can just, I don't know, do your thing.
But then also the most simple definition of that is just being like aware of things, you know, and your job as a comedian is also to be acutely aware of what's what,
for sure.
You know.
But it's become a buzzword, and one that I hate, and I punch myself in the head even using that word. I would never use words like that on stage or anywhere generally, but it's become a thing where it's but then it's become something for dumb people to grab onto.
But also dumb people can also watch your act and feel very satisfied that they're watching a comedian who, quote unquote, tells it like it is, because you do. In your own way. And I hate that phrase. It's become a cliche to mean something else entirely, but you are someone that speaks their mind on topics. And that can be quite satisfying, but because people are only seeking it out from the worst people rather than the Heggie type. And I'm always recommending you when I'm at like a town hall and people are looking for someone really good, essentially.
Yeah.
But they're also like, I can see that they're a bit of a blokey bloke.
Yeah, but then they've got to be a certain type of blokey bloke. They might agree with 50%. No one's going to agree with everything. That's a crazy concept. And if they don't get it, like if they're really dumb, they'll get it a little way in and go, fucking hang on, he's not one of us. Like you like to lay out enough hints that you don't really mean something. Or
but they also just like the colours and shapes as well.
I know, they're dumb. But then I'd like to think my shows aren't for the dumb.
No, they're not. But you say enough words that people go, I like those words. That's enough.
Yeah.
You said words that we liked, and therefore that was worth the admission. And I am diluting your whole thing. For people that haven't seen your stuff, let's talk about, because I want to hear about the show you're working on and the show that you just are rounding out now, in terms of like what, to put sort of this in context, what were you exploring? What ideas, what stuff is in the show you just finished?
It's kind of, I don't know, hard to put my finger on. It's nothing. There's no through line. It's just stand up that I've accrued over the last 12 months and just worked hard at writing and making better. And they're sort of standalone bits that with weak segues, and it's just shit that's annoyed me in the last year.
Well, I guess that was really what encapsulates shit that annoys you, is what's going on in your world right now. Where do you sort of integrate truth and fiction in terms of shit that annoys you, and then I'm going to now bring in made up stuff to emphasize my point? Like, I was just listening to Low Breed on the way here, and you have that part about going to a restaurant where you have to make your own dinner, and then this guy's like getting you to choose from the cuts of meat and such. How much are you adding versus how much is already there?
It's wildly different for each bit. I don't come out and just tell stories of something that's happened. I'd rather add to it or just make something up. Like there's a bit in, I think, that show about a class system where I end up thrashing a food delivery guy. Like, obviously I don't even own a fucking stock whip. I'm not thrashing a foreigner on my doorstep.
That was my next question, you know.
But like, you know, I'd rather make something up than have a true story. This is what my brother said. Or something, you know.
The kids say the darndest things.
Yeah. That's a trap.
And then it's end of joke as well. Like, what have you brought to this? It's like, no, I've pointed out a thing that happened.
Yeah, I just remembered a
conversation. But then also a clever thing that you said in a moment once as well is also, what a great approch to joke writing.
I mean, it's not something I think consciously of all the time, but I think if you've got too many things in your show where you're the winner, fucking hang on, I've got to lose a couple of times. Like, it's nice to be a winner. Everyone loves it. Or you love to feel that in yourself. But
that's a good point, because you sort of play high status, but also also you're losing at the same time, I guess. The everyman, but also I'm better than every man. Yeah. There's a challenge. There's a challenge there.
It's hard. It's a tightrope act. Yeah.
I'm just like you, but not you, or you. But we can find a way to relate somewhere along the way.
I'm appalled by me, basically. I fucking hate myself, and I hate people like me. But I've got to try and be better.
But I'm also one of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a nice balance there. You were talking to me. You did my gig in Sydney, Best Mates Comedy, a month ago, and you were talking to me about doing new stuff and trying to figure out like where they're going to go with you and when they're not going with you anymore. What does starting a new Heggie bit look like?
I sit down at my desk and write it, and then try to memorize it and fuck it up a handful of times, get the feel of whether it's going to work or not, change it. Okay, I mean,
is this a laptop? Are you a pen and paper sort of guy? Have you got your carpenter's pencil?
All sorts, like whatever's there. Generally, if I'm at home, it'll be on the laptop, so I can change stuff around. Eventually, it all fits on there.
Are you doing the sort of Nick Cave approach of 9 to 5 is sit down and writing time? Do you treat this like a business, or is it like whenever you get time?
It's whenever I get time. I don't have time. Like, it's a lot on at the moment. I do a podcast, and I've got a family, and you know, when you got kids, man, they hear your chair creak, your name gets yelled. Like, you got to have a shut door and stuff. No one respects a shut door anymore.
Right. Writing in progress.
Like old old artists, like 100 odd years ago, they used to shut the door and get meals left outside. I'll see you in 18 hours when I feel like coming out. That's over. So you're kind of at the whim of everyone else. It'd be nice to have a studio or something, sit there and write all day, but I can't.
We're not going to see Luke Heggie in the nearby cafe doing some bit of cafe time writing.
No. I mean, I go wherever. I'll go outside or I wouldn't go to a cafe and write. It's a bit pretentious, isn't it?
Someone might see you.
Well, yeah.
Are you the sort of person jotting down notes as they happen to you? Like I had a previous guest who's got like a recorder. He records like anything that comes into his head. He was like straight on the recorder.
I mean, I know Alan Partridge, but it is, all the time. I'm just writing notes in my phone mainly now.
Yeah.
But I can't read. I've got reading glasses now, so it becomes a bit more of a production. So yeah, I do voice records as well.
Yeah.
Like the voice record thing and say it and it prints it out.
See, this is the thing with, the incongruity of Luke Heggie is that you put the glasses on, then you feel like that same Luke Heggie without the glasses should be beating up the Heggie with the glasses.
Yeah. I flushed my own head recently just because I saw myself in the mirror.
Yeah, this sort of Superman beating up Clark Kent situation. Who the fuck is that guy? I don't like that guy. But it also does make you a lot more approachable when I see you with the glasses. Like, oh, okay, who's this guy? I could chat to him.
Everyone's eyes go. If you want to continue reading, you can't try and be tough. I try to avoid. I wouldn't wear them on stage. Like, I can't see anyway. I can only.
I mean, I
don't have glasses. They're only for reading.
Yeah.
When I've got them on, I can't look. I can't.
My hope is though, like when you get into character comedy and we have a whole series of.
Do you think that's the sort of the path?
Yeah, something terrible happens where you go, I got to experiment. Yeah, you become a TikTok comedian.
Fuck, yeah, I don't know. Dress up as a woman.
Yeah,
do two character parts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you're not going to sell it. You'll be back on the building site before you start doing character comedy.
Back on the building site before a lot of things. Like I don't want to, but probably would. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so let's talk. Can we talk about material that's in the chamber at the moment, stuff that you're working on where you're trying to figure out what is and what isn't working about it?
I mean, I sort of, because of the turnover rate, most things that I start, I commit to finishing and keeping. So it's not like like obviously lines and stuff are going to have to get chucked out and inserted elsewhere or whatever. But generally I start and it's awful. Like it's really not bad quality necessarily, but really not nice. And then I have to march it back a bit. So first few times I try something, it's pretty,
But you must have an instinct for what's funny about the thing initially,
yeah,
right?
for sure. But you're not going to get it right first time. I never have. And it takes dozens of times on stage to get the words right and everything and have it all in the right spot.
Are you all just a numbers game of like, I'm just going to keep throwing this out there until it hits, or I'm going back to the page again and rewriting
I go back
this?
and rewrite it every time. Like, I'm not an algorithm comedian. I don't have like a formula or something like some people might have. I just do the job.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It's just, if it's a good idea, you should be able to make a little good bit.
But you're not scrapping stuff?
Not much, no.
Because you don't have time.
I'd probably write, for a 1 hour show, I'd write probably an hour and 5 minutes. And the 5 minutes I got to ditch is fucking just too harsh, probably.
Yeah, right.
But I've got kind of my own audience, but not enough where I can do something that's really awful. And they're all like, yeah, but I don't really want to be that guy anyway.
Well, your show is so joke dense and it's always solid. I remember seeing you at the Enmore, smash it to the Enmore Theatre, not the small rooms, listeners, the big one. And it's a show that has to be so high quality. Does the show keep growing and tightening across a season, or is it fully cooked night one?
No. It's still now. Like, it's annoying that you can't. Ideally, I'd spend 2 years getting a show right, but I can't afford it. Because now the show's, I think, quite good, but 6 months ago it wasn't. But that's when I was doing most of the work.
And are you on that approach to like, now is every show now getting filmed so you can keep making money from it, or does it just get, not every show gets recorded?
No, I record every year, but it's not, like, there's no money in that. It's just a case of having it. in the archives, really, or cutting it up for bits for promo and all that shit.
There was
That's
a time
punish.
where you were selling the USBs. Is that if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
There was a time when you could sell some
People
stuff.
don't really buy them anymore. Comedy's free now on YouTube, and that's what we're bound to. It's fucked. But like, I mean, none of us are big enough, and it's them a handful, but like to start selling your shows or put them online for $5 or something, people are like, fuck off. Just wait until it's free.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So yeah, it's not a great model for the artist, but that's what's happened.
So going back to the money side of things, you said the festival is where all the money gets made.
Live is, I mean, not so much festivals, but live is where I can make money. But I like for my material to pay me more than once. So I put out a book of transcriptions of my material illustrated, and that's another way to get paid again. I don't know how else to get paid again. I made some sketches for ABC of stand up. That was good.
For the weekly.
Yeah. They were pretty good. Got paid for them.
So some of these things aren't just a means for exposure, the things like the podcast. We do the podcast to reach a broader audience. Hopefully then people will buy tickets to a future show.
Yes.
But then other things like, this actually does make me money when I'm on the ABC.
Yeah. No, I mean, not that much. That's more to get people in. Everything, like the whole model is now work for free and beg for money later. And it's pretty fucked.
And listener, please do sign up to the Patreon. And,
well, that's right. Like same as us, we got Patreon and stuff, and ours are great. They're very supportive. But if everyone who listened paid $1 a month, we'd be a lot better off.
How do you sort of manage that hustle side of things these days where it is?
I don't. I'm a terrible salesman, and I pay people to try and do that for me.
Right.
I'm not that marketable really, so it's not.
Are you once again, I'm going to sort of figure this out if it is all a weird accident or not. But are you calculating going, oh, well, Cody has more of that I lack, so to speak, in terms of maybe he has more hustle than I do. What if we did a podcast and he'll fill that gap?
Not really. I couldn't. I wouldn't be that sort of devious. I don't know.
It feels too calculated.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like I couldn't. If I'd thought that, I probably wouldn't do it because I'd feel dirty. We just did it because we're good mates. And funnily, like he's so busy. He's not a massive hustler.
Yeah.
So he's definitely better than me at socials and all that sort of business. But I don't want to. Like I wouldn't be my.
But you're still so practical in like making shit happen. That's what confuses me in that. You're selling carpenter's pencils after a gig.
Yeah.
Are you going, oh, I ought to have merch to sell? Or I ought to, this is a way for people to remember me? Or you can't accidentally do that.
No, but I'm very picky with like what I will feel dirty doing. And I feel dirty like making content just for the content's sake. I'm happy to put up bits of stand-up or have someone do it for me because I don't know how to cut videos and shit and I don't want to. But things like carpenter, but that's been good merch, man.
Yeah, right.
And that kind of appeases the tradies who, good audience. A lot of them listen to podcasts. They'll use pencils. Got a fresh batch coming if anyone's but that's been pretty funny. I got it one year as like funny sort of thing to do.
Yeah.
And there was a demand for it. I'm like, all right, make a couple of grand off that as well while I'm at it.
So you are just going, what about this? Have that. It's your same approach to your stand-up. Is you going, how about this? And then if it doesn't work perfectly, you're back to the drawing board.
Pretty much. But I mean, I'm not. That's not a. If you want to, the people who are best at salesmanship are not necessarily the best stand-ups. And I don't think you have to choose between those. Some are good at, but you either. I don't know. I feel like I'd rather concentrate on the creative than the sales. I got management. They're doing my fucking sales.
Yeah.
So that's.
You don't have to be thinking too much about like what about this.
I don't want to think
that?
at all about it. Like I'd really rather not. I'd rather be sitting at my desk writing than doing a gig every night. That'd be the ideal. But you still got all these admin emails and shit coming in.
So there is some stuff you can't escape even with management. Admin is still there.
Yeah. It's like, which flight do you want? I don't know. Do it for me. I'll turn up. Like there's that aspect of it that you got to deal with.
Right. Yeah. So the dream is just the writing and the performing, but unfortunately, you are a human being in existence in the world and have to contend with all the other stuff.
And also on that, like it's a strange thing as well, because if you stop living and just sit at your desk, what are you're writing about sitting at a desk? What the fuck is that? And same with giving up work and everything. Like I wouldn't mind going back to do 1 day a week on the building site just for the laughs. Because they're fucking funny. Builder's pretty good.
Well, I guess this is another question in the how deliberate is it category. The sort of the theme of this episode is, because there are people like I've who will go, let's do activities today because I want to have stuff to talk about tonight at the show.
Yeah.
Are you deliberately going, I got to go and do stuff?
No, I think I'm busy enough not to do that. Like if you're out in life, living life, it should just happen by itself. If you're going to contrive experiences for your stand-up, maybe go back to fucking law or something. I don't know. You a lawyer?
No.
Oh, right.
No.
There's a lot though.
Teacher by trade.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of failed lawyers in comedy.
And a lot of failed teachers.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you see all the teacher comedy nights and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
And a lot of continuing teachers as well. Like Ben Knight was doing jokes about teaching the other night at a show, and he was talking about, I just got off the back of teaching. I'm like, Ben, you still teach? You were just in a movie with Ryan Gosling. But I guess once again, you want to be able to project this feeling of, I'm out there working. It's much harder to do jokes about being on set with Ryan Gosling, I guess.
But there's two schools of thought with that. Like the audiences want to see a professional comedian who just does comedy. In their heads, it's like this guy's, famous and good, whatever. I think it's a thin veneer. Once they get a peek behind the curtain, they go, it's not that fucking good, man. It's hard. And just because you appear on something doesn't mean you're a millionaire.
Yeah, totally.
So you've got to make ends meet.
I think I still have that old-fashioned idea that if you are in any movie, then you have... then
it's obviously $7 million you made.
Clearly. How do you feel about... Yeah, because there is that thing when comedians talk about their day job on stage that it can ruin some of that illusion of like, I thought you were a big star.
Yeah, I don't know. It just depends on your shtick. If you want to be an everyman, you've got to talk about working. But if you're in the Enmore Theatre talking about how you just walked off a building site, you're probably a fucking liar. You know what I mean? You've got to make people suspend their belief a bit. If you've got a joke that's good enough, that's saying I just came off a building site, they might look past the bullshit and think that's really funny.
Yeah.
Whereas if they're sitting there looking around going, this guy's probably making 10 grand tonight, fuck him. It's different. I don't know.
Can you still make 10 grand or like after all the costs and stuff? Yeah.
I can't, but others can with their jacked up ticket prices.
You're not doing the Taylor Swift dynamic ticket pricing or something?
Ticketing? No.
Yeah. No. Wait, how close is Heggie to doing dynamic pricing like Green Day or something like that?
You reckon you could do it as a low budget, do like $20 or $30?
I think it actually would probably be in the tongue-in-cheek Heggie kind of brand of comedy to be like
just an extra $1 on the day.
Just a low breed price or something like that.
Yeah. I try to keep my prices fairly low anyway for the lowies. But like if you're, it doesn't work, but it's for my conscience, is to, if a couple, and a lot of my audience are my age and they've got kids and what have you, and they've got to get a babysitter, probably dinner, 2 tickets, all that sort of thing. My tickets are like $30. Some people's are fucking 100.
Yeah.
For a 1 hour show. Like, how's that? How can you talk to obviously they don't want to, but like, how can you claim any sort of, affinity with the everyman and then go, give me 3 figures, dickhead?
Especially when with some of those shows, they are dragging their feet. They're like, we knew you were going to come anyway. They're not even giving you a show that's worth that amount of money.
No, I don't think a 1 hour show is worth 3 figures. I don't care who it is.
You say you didn't watch comedy before you came to comedy. Are you someone now that nerds out about that sort of stuff? Or do you go out and see shows? And I hesitate to use the word nerd in relation to you.
That's right.
But do you start watching? Did you start watching the moves? Did you start quote unquote studying? Did you put on your reading glasses and get a sense of what was what?
I still now often. There's a lot of people who are students of comedy, and they'll tell me. So I don't have to. I don't seek out. A lot of famous comedians, I don't even know who the fuck they are. And I don't really want to do more than I'm doing. I watch a lot of shit comedy and I watch comedy that I'm on. That's enough.
You watch the show if you're headlining?
Absolutely. I mean, if I can get there at the start of the show, I will. And I try to watch the whole show every time. And if I'm not headlining, I'll still stay and watch whoever.
What motivates you to watch the show? Because some people who are more crowd worky, are watching it because they want to, make the show as catered to that audience as possible.
Yeah. But then that's a fairly modern sort of, everyone's emceeing their own fucking spot now. But I still don't want to, it's not even half. It's a little bit if I'm on last and every comedian's done something about teenage kids. I don't want to get up and do something about teenage kids. So there's that. But also I just want to see what's going on. I think imperceptibly styles change a lot. And if you stop, or if you only do your spot, and there are heaps of people who just turn up 1 minute before theirs, do it, leave, pack up the tripod at the back, obviously, then leave and go home and edit their little fucking... You're not seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
Not that I try to imitate anyone, but there are changes in style and everything. And I'm very conscious of people my age becoming a time capsule comedian. If I stopped for a few years and came back, I'd be a 2024 comedian.
I've caught you out, Heggie. This is deliberate. This isn't an accident.
Deliberate. But I mean, I just don't want to stop working. And it's a danger sign that I don't know many men about my age who don't stop writing. They generally stop writing. They stop going out all the time. And all right, that's it. And it's the same in life. It's not just comedy. It's like, I'm happy with these clothes. I'm happy with these attitudes, these opinions. That's it.
I'm locked in.
This is the music I'll go and see. I'll go and see a superannuation tour of a legacy band, and I'll keep these jokes and I'll keep these opinions until I'm dead.
Yeah.
Fuck, I think that's really dangerous.
Yeah, which is the same with that anti-woke stuff. Is all the time it's like I'm anti-new information. It's really what it is. It's like, oh, that looks hard. I don't want to have to work that out.
But also with your jokes, like you have to... There's probably things I've said recently, but like things I've said 10 years ago that I wouldn't do now. I've stopped short of apologising for them. Fuck that. But also I wouldn't start doing some things that I probably have done before in comedy.
Who are you listening to? Are you listening to the audience? Are there moments when you'll have, peers come up to you after a show and go, oh, you said that word, but that word's a bit out these days. Or, hey, when that maybe you come off as a fuckhead if you say it like this. Are you getting that sort of feedback from your mates, or are you just audience centric?
I wouldn't listen to one audience. I'd listen to 20 audiences in a row, and if they're all saying the same thing, then obviously I've got to sort something out.
Are you that sort of great at pinpointing what the issue is?
Not great, but probably I'm not pretty good at that. I think like I'll know when I've turned it.
Right.
And if it's like that they don't like me as a person, then that's different. I've got to sort that out and do something that makes them. No, I don't have to do anything. But it's if they don't like me, it's not the joke. If they don't like the joke, it's different. It's
well, that's an interesting area as well as that idea of, we talked about pandering before, but how calculated, how much thought are you putting into those first few lines? Because you have this abrasive persona, but you're actually a really nice guy, but you don't want the audience to. You're not coming on with that attitude. You're coming on to go have this.
Yeah.
But you also want them to like you as well. How do you approach that?
Well, I don't know if I've consciously ever done that. I just don't want to. You don't hear too many good blokes walking around saying I'm a good bloke, and sort of. And I don't dislike nice guy comedy if that's if that's who you are. But a lot of people on stage saying I'm a great guy, perverts or something. There's something.
But what about it's good to be here? I'm excited to see you, or any of that sort of stuff.
Generally, when I'm on, people have had that said to them already.
Yeah.
So this is what I've written. Fucking have this. And it's kind of why I don't resent crowd work at all. A lot of comedians are very good at it, but I resent the modern iteration of it where that is now what some audiences are there for, to get involved. And if that's their thing, go see the fucking crowd work specialist who's got a huge following for doing what's your name, what do you do? And that is totally an MC thing for me, and that's great, well done. But if there's an act being introduced and they don't do crowd work, fucking shut up.
Do you find yourself with like the podcast that people then, what do they call them, like quasi pseudo social relationships or whatever, where are they coming to those sorts of shows and going, we're mates now, and looking to treat it like a conversation?
I mean, I know the concept. I've been very specific on our podcast to bully people out of that. And it's like, this is not the podcast. I'm not in your bedroom. Come to a show if you want. Don't turn up in a stupid shirt and sit in the front row and yell catchphrases or something. I don't want you there. It's fucked. And they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They police themselves quite well with that.
Which is unusual for that brand
great.
of person.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know that there's nerds who listen to podcasts. And I love nerds, but it's I think our audience are fairly you cut them all off. It's not good for business. You're not casting the net wide, but you've got a niche audience who are quite loyal and appreciate that you don't want them enjoying your comedy.
There's a real sort of parenting vibe coming in, or maybe like training a new dog sort of vibe coming along. Yeah,
but it's also a disrespect for podcasting as opposed to stand-up. Stand-up's the one. That's the only thing I really give a shit about. I mean, I enjoy the podcast. I love hanging around with Cody and love doing it. But it's not. It started to get more people to come to stand-up. Right. Stand-up's the only one that's really important, I think, to comedy. I don't give a shit about it. Any of the other stuff is just to try and drum up business.
No one's approaching you to, star in a film or whatever. This isn't a means to an end for, I got to get rid of the stand-up thing so I can host my own late night talk show.
I mean, I think that's it's a terrible side effect of our small market or the attitude of wanting money instead of trying to be good.
Who's tapping you for breakfast radio? Come on.
I'd last an hour on breakfast radio.
Do you think you'd be the nickname guy? Do you think you'd be it'd be like Lucy, Derek, and Heggie, or do you think you'd be Luke? Do you think you'd?
I wouldn't be any of it.
Or the spanner. Maybe you could be the spanner or something like that.
I couldn't do it. I mean, when I get put out to pasture, maybe I'd have to go to Gold Coast Radio or something. But I'd rather not. And I don't diss anyone for doing it. Obviously, like a lot of the time, it comes after working really hard at stand-up. It's like your reward is you never have to do stand-up again.
Yeah.
You're like, fucking sick. I'll take the money. And I can't blame them. It's hard. Yeah. But I've come this far. I'm not ditching stand-up for anything, really.
I mean, especially when there's still a demand there. I really like that you have this approach to watching the shows, making sure that you stay relevant, that your chops are still up to snuff in much the same way. I've never been on a proper work site in my life, but I guess you got to be making sure that your particular licenses are up to date, that there's a particular...
the ones I worked on. Yeah, you do have to. You just keep working.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have access to being a genius. I just got to work. That's all I got.
But this is still, I'm still intrigued by just it is just I'm here to do the job versus, and as I say, the stamina thing for me sometimes, I think because I do maybe one too many things potentially in terms of trying to keep that focus on I just want to get this one outcome. I find that is super impressive that you can be out. How many nights a week are you doing these things? For people who are listening, going like, all right, I want to be a sort of diehard with this sort of approach as well.
Yeah.
How much time are you dedicating?
Probably 5 to 6 nights a week. I reckon I'd be out of the house, and 3 of them would be free, just doing new or practicing a bit for something or whatever. I don't know. It's not something I think about anymore. It's just like, all right,
this is my job.
Everyone else is sitting down at my house. I'm getting on the bike and going to a gig.
But then there's this other side of you, and we can cut this part out. I doubt it's blowing up your spot in any way, in that you're also a fun-loving guy. That you're like, where's the karaoke night? That's also part of the stamina, that you're also managing to have a fun time as well. How you? I don't know how you align the I'm here to work, but I also am going to have a ton of fun as well, and then also get up and take the kids to school as well.
Well, I don't know. Just do it. I'll probably just die early. There's no point in just do it. Like,
there's no secret. There's no secret that you're sort of sitting on this particular smoothie that you have of a morning or something like that. That this is how you got to do it.
No, just do the job, work hard, sleep well, get up and do it. I don't have any secrets.
Yeah, right. The book publishers are suddenly deleting that email. It's like, I want to get Heggie to write a book about comedy. It's like, oh, it's more of a pamphlet.
Yeah, just do the fucking job. Do one sentence. Do the job, dickhead.
maybe I treat it as more of like a collaboration of comedians where I get different comedians to submit their advice, and then the Heggie section is just a very thin page.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any secrets. Just I've been going a fair while. I just do what works and keep moving.
I mean, it feels as if there's a lot to be said for coming to comedy late. Like, what do you see when you see comedians who are starting and they're, 20-ish years old and they're already doing jokes about, oh, I'm getting older. How do you feel it? Like, who do you think you would have been if you started when you were 20? Do you think you'd even still be doing comedy?
Absolutely not. I mean, I do think it would have been easier if I'd started earlier, because those blokes my age, they're all rusted on fucking millionaires now, just cruising around, filling theatres off goodness knows what. And that'd be an easier life, but it wouldn't be as interesting to me. I don't know.
Did you feel like you were contending with a lot starting late? Because some people took themselves out of like new career. I saw someone online recently said, "Oh, how would anyone feel? Would it be crazy to start a new career at 35?"
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I've never really committed to a career, so I didn't have it. I just started having kids that age, and I don't know. I didn't consciously go, right, I'm quitting everything, doing this, which you see a lot of with young blokes. I say blokes, it's always blokes generally, like going, I'm quitting everything and being a stand-up comedian. And go,
yeah,
fuck, good one. And some of them do it
and their partner is there going, what's this now?
Yeah. Well, my wife's been incredibly supportive.
Right.
I've always done the job, and I've always worked hard doing 2 jobs and getting shit paid. But not many partners and spouses would go, yeah, you go out for free and I'll look after little kids while you go out and earn nothing, just trying to get better. But that's been essential. Like, I couldn't have someone sitting at home hating me for doing it. That's a fucking appalling life. Yeah. And you do see it. You see sort of hobbyists and bucket listers out doing comedy. And you go, man, I don't know, ticking time bomb.
Yeah, or their partners who come along and they have this weird grimace on their face, and you go, why are you here? You don't look like you want to be here at all.
Oh.
And yet I'm having to make polite conversation with this partner and be like, oh.
Yeah. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because you know all these comedians, and you meet their wives or husbands, and you go, now I get it. I know what's happened to you.
Yeah, oh, you're the one from the stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even worse.
Yeah, and then you hear it didn't work out, and you're like, and then have to put on some level of surprise on your face.
I do find it weird when you see comedians who are particularly filthy, for example, and they're doing blowjob comedy and shit, and then you meet their wife or partner, and you go, man, I didn't need to ever meet you, or I'm sorry for what he's saying. Like, it's weird.
Yeah, when then they're in your peripheral while you're hearing the joke, you're like, oh, this isn't
it's weird
what this is supposed to be.
Thing, yeah.
And also, sometimes you will look to them and they're like, this is not real at all. You're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I hate my wife, and that wife is in the audience like, I know you like your wife.
Yeah.
This is bizarre.
I know, it's crazy.
But
I mean, it comes back. It's also a persona thing on stage and stuff. People acting tough on stage. I don't know. And then you see them in real. It's like comedians, and me included, take great glee in finding out someone's full of shit. The big one is, he went to a private school. Well, he didn't choose that. Judge how good the jokes are, whatever. It's someone grows up privileged. It's like, fuck him. He's just bored his way into this. He's still got to do it.
He's still got to do the work.
Well, in a way, it would have been easier for him to be a banker or something. He's doing this.
This is you defending yourself right now?
Grew up real rich.
If you hear any rumors, So, and I get, this is the other thing as well, I think why headliners tend to avoid watching the show is like, how much comedy can people sort of endure, especially newer comedy as well, are just like, as you say, the low breeds. Sometimes the vibe is just, are you able to just let it sort of wash over you, like banter at a work site? See, this is me being a great interviewer. See how I brought it back to the other thing?
I know. I don't know. Like, banter at the work site is genuinely pretty funny. Like, it can be really base or basic or whatever. It's fucking funny though. And those blokes are like the tradesmen are so much funnier than comedians.
Well, every comedian has a funnier friend who doesn't do comedy.
Of course,
that's
but they
the
just
rule.
don't have the wherewithal. And thankfully, a lot of tradesmen never put pen to paper, and it's different standing in front of people and doing it as opposed to sitting on an esky saying something fucking ridiculous. But I kind of, I mean, when it comes to, you know, listening to other comedians and stuff, I like it. I see some terrible shit. I enjoy watching comedy that's this good or like that.
Yeah.
Because I live in here.
Great
I know
or
this
awful.
stuff.
Yeah.
This is where most of us are. I want to see that or that.
Do you see comedians who are sort of starting out their first 5 years making common errors and feeling, if they just tweaked a little bit there or a little bit here, they'd be on the right track? Do you see common errors that people are making? Like, you know, whether it be, you know, something that I observe in you is that you have a very strong point of view. Yeah. And I think a lot of new comedians forget to put that sort of thing in their act. Right. Yeah. What sort, do you see common errors coming up?
No, I was quite like that, but yeah, I do all the time. And it depends. Like I don't want to correct him because it's so fucking pretentious. And also,
I have built a whole community around doing that very thing.
Yeah. I know. I mean, like, on a night or something,
they invite me. They invite me to do this.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't walk up to someone and go, I think you'll find the plural of this is this. I just would leave it. Unless it's a friend. Yeah. Like a close comedy friend. I go, you know, how you said this, whatever you want. And I'm always on the back foot going, look, don't take this, or if you want, I'm not offended, but blah, blah, blah. And I'm reticent to do it too much because you sound like an ass. Like if you're volunteering it. Yeah.
I mean, my rule is always, and this is a note for anyone listening, is if you want to give that sort of feedback or a thought, is you always have to ask first. Oh, do you want any thoughts on that joke? And if they say no, you got to accept that.
I know. Yeah. On the other side, if someone says that to me, I always say yes. I'd go home and think about all night what they were going to say. Even if it's ridiculous, go, fuck, I want to hear what this idiot says. Yeah. And they could have a good point. You don't know. Yeah. It's only ego stopping you from saying it.
Do you have jokes in your shows that are a result of something an audience member told you? Like Lizzie Who, one of the shows that I worked on with her a few years ago, one of the biggest laughs in the show was an audience contribution.
Yeah, right.
No. Do you have to give authorship to anyone else, or is this 100% pure Heggie?
It's usually me. I'll work with. I'll run through material with Sean Woodland, Daniel Connell, Cam Knight, and Nick Cody all the time. I run shit past them and vice versa, and take suggestions and stuff. But never rewrite. But you know, a line or a word or a change or whatever, for sure. Yeah, you're always going to get more out of it if people you trust tell you something good.
But no directors for Heggie shows.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I've never gone into it.
Because you've had shows where like you've brought out the I didn't see the mandolin show. I heard about the show. Yeah, I'm gonna play my instrument in this show. Yeah, like that's a choice to go. This show has a shape now because I've put a section where I play music in it. Yeah, like so there is craft to these shows. You are shaping them in some sort of way beyond as you say. Because this is something I sort of challenge every comedian on when they go, oh, for my show, there's no real theme or this or that. But like something has been made. Yeah. You've made a thing.
For me, that like the segues and the theme and everything, they'll come at the last minute, if at all. And people do react, even if they're weak. Segues totally work. It can be quite jarring going from one bit about, you know, a class system into another bit about how your kids are fucking annoying. Like you have to find a way to put where to put everything, and then I don't know, it sort of shapes itself after a while. If there's enough jokes there, it should be all right. But a full hour of non sequitur comedy would be fucking hard to pull off.
But you've also got such high quality, so it's unlike other shows where if it is themeless or there's, you know, it is just here's my best stuff. Your stuff happens to be incredibly high quality. So when other people go, oh, I'm not going to do a theme, I'm sometimes like, maybe you should glue it together with something. You might want to shape it just a little bit more.
But even if it's good, you still have to, like for an hour, it's different. People need to think that they've heard a show or something. How you put in a contrived fucking callback or something somewhere.
How are you approaching the next show as someone who is going, all right, this is how I do it. This is going to be my best stuff in recent memory. But you're also someone who is thinking about staying good, staying relevant, staying top of your game, making sure you're not coaxing along. Are you approaching the next show differently, or is it I do this by numbers and I'm doing it in the same way that I do every show?
I just want it to be as good quality as the last, and the last one was pretty good, and it's hard to keep doing that. But at this stage of the year, this is, I don't know when this is goes, November is where we are now, and I need to have it ready for sort of February. I'm just chunking together everything, and I don't put together a show. This is everything I've got. I will only have an hour.
And 5 minutes.
And maybe 5 minutes. But the 5 minutes is I'm probably getting rid of that now and just have the hour. I don't know. But it's everything I've got and just make it better.
How many comedians who are just finishing their tour from this year have got that hour already, and you're ready to, you're shaping it and you're polishing it, but you've got the raw material. Is that what you're saying?
I don't. Yeah. I've got about 25, 30 minutes maybe now, but it's not right.
And that's what you took off the back of trial shows at Sydney Fringe and such?
Yeah. So all of that I'm going to keep. It's nothing. There's no long bits or anything that are so shit I've got to ditch the whole thing. And obviously making them shorter is going to make them better, but sometimes you can't. I'm not looking for filler, but you're like, oh, fuck, I need this extra couple of minutes here.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just hard. It's just making it better.
What are you? I know you sort of flipping a little cash with like topics and stuff like that, but what are you writing about at the moment? What's getting in your craw, as they say?
Probably virtue signalling would be a bit of a theme. I wouldn't use that word, but it's more. I got a new bit about empathy and how I'm an empath now, but then I just proceed to be a piece of shit throughout it. So there's that. I like writing those sorts of things. They're so contradictory, and it's obvious to someone who's got a brain that I don't really mean it, but I'm just being a fucking arsehole while trying to tell everyone I'm a great bloke.
Yeah.
Which I find a really funny dichotomy in modern society and in comedy. Like people saying, I did this, and round of applause comes because they've done something nice. Fuck you, man.
The clapter relationship.
Gross.
Yeah.
So, a bit of that. I don't know.
Do you get it? Do you begin to get a sense? I know you say that shape comes last, but do you start to go, oh, this is my new sort of 45-minute joke. This is the one that's going to be like this is going to really suit coming in at a really perfect place in the show.
Not for a bit. There's always like a joke or something. Like, fuck, I cannot do that in the first 5 minutes. It's not going to fly. I'd love to have the balls and the audience trust to just open with an appalling joke and then find your way back from that. But I can't.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's enough people who know who I am. And they turn up, and if half the audience like you, you're all right. But often it's not that. You got to put that in later. Stuart
Lee pretty much in every show has jokes about sort of making fun of the person that has brought their friend along, and like will often talk directly to that friend to be like, yeah, you thought this was going to be better or, funnier or someone else entirely, someone broad comedian from the telly or whatever. So it's very acutely aware of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he does that so well too, and the whole meta, like picking apart comedy thing, which I love, but it's pretty much, it's not off the table, but you've got to have a different approach to doing that because he's done it so well, and you're just going to be a Stuart Lee ripoff if you start talking about comedy too much.
But I guess you also do that in your own way of going like, this is what you're getting. It is have that approach, but you are also secretly going, but I'm not going to give you all of that at once.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ripping into comedy as well in the new show. But you've got to be careful too, because your audience don't know. You've got to educate them and make your snide remarks as well about comedians who don't do exactly what I do. I like to put them down.
How do you manage making sure they get enough information for the joke to work?
Therein lies the hard part. Like you don't want to go, hey guys, come on in, I'll show you behind the curtain. It's yuck. But you got to do it just with snide lines, and if it's funny enough, they'll get the idea.
I find sometimes that comedians rely too much on that. Like, have you guys heard about this? Audience goes, yes, then they can move on and then not put any information in the joke. It's like, hey, you might actually still need to tell the audience something before you race to the punchline.
Yeah. But there's so much buzz stuff and pop culture things that happen that I wouldn't have access to if I didn't know young people, young comedians. And I don't come out and use their buzzwords, but I still like to know what they're thinking and going through.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know a lot of these words. It's so unnatural for someone my age. It'd be like a fucking old dad using words like groovy and shit. You sound like an asshole. So I like to know what's going on and also poke fun at it, but not use the same terms as them.
Yeah, okay. That's really funny. Man, I'm excited to see the next show. I'm excited to see how it forms. How does it – so you're putting this one to bed. How does it feel to be at the end of this tour? Are you happy to put this one to bed? As you say, you could run it for another year. Are you good at keeping things fresh despite them sort of aging a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, if you keep writing, it's going to be relevant. But I'm happy to get rid of it because I've got to move on. Mm-hmm. But I think also there wouldn't be one more person in this country who's going to come to my show if I do one more show. That's it.
You've ticked
Tonight's my last show.
Yeah, you've covered all the bases.
No one's coming back. Like I've got people who come, like people who seem to like what I'm up to, but they don't seem to have any fucking friends. Like they've never. It's really stagnant. Exactly this size audience. I think I've maxed out the amount of people who tolerate my comedy.
Does that scare you in any way? Like, because like for me, I am always going, oh, next thing in terms of like even the Patreon. I go, oh, cool, we've got X amount of followers. Wonder if we can hit another benchmark after that. Are you with this number of people that you're going, all right, I think I've hit Heggie capacity. Are you comfortable with this, or is there a feeling of, oh shit, I should be doing more?
I mean, it's kind of out of my control in a lot of ways. I'm not changing and I'm not chasing younger audiences. Some people bringing their kids along once they're 18, 20 and they're coaching them into coming to my stand-up, which that probably won't last. I don't know. The only bad part, I suppose, is the old ones are going to die before me. So if I've got people who come to my show every year, one day they're not coming. And I'm not replacing them with young ones. So that is a bit of a marketing faux pas, but I'm not a marketer.
There's probably something as well where people sort of look at an aging population in terms of like the party that they vote for as well. It's like, oh shit, once the boomers die, then that party's not getting voted in anymore. It's similar to Heggie's also looking at his audience numbers, being like, I'm counting on them to pay my mortgage.
I don't get all wrinklies in, but there are, like there's every time I come to Melbourne, there's like an 80-year-old woman who brings all her friends every year. So there's 10 80-year-olds coming, and they've been coming since I was 70 or late 60s. Fucking hell, that's thank you. It's really nice.
Well, as a practical person, I would be, next time you see them, see if you can get them to pass the torch onto a sort of a slightly younger, or make sure that whoever's being the ticket buyer every year, make sure that,
well,
she's pass that on.
Even better, ingratiate myself to a point where I get in the will. And I don't have to worry about any of that crap. So,
just cash out entirely.
Yeah, cash out.
Yeah, right. So as we sort of wrap up our time together, and thanks for making the time, tell me at this point of the year, the show name's registered, the guide entry is in, your management is there to sort of tap you on the shoulder as soon as those sort of things happen. What is sort of between November and the rest of the year look like in terms of feeling ready for when festivals begin in January?
I've booked in a bunch of shows with Chris Ryan from Canberra, who you know.
We love Chris.
Great. Her and I do like a split show called Future Classics each year, and we go. We've got about 10 dates, maybe 12, where we're just doing that, and that's just all new. It's like a fringe sort of thing, cheapish tickets. We're going to different places this time. Often we just do Sydney and Canberra and a couple of others, but going to maybe 12 places to do that. So that should whip a few things into shape. And during that, I try to park the bits that are working and just do all, because I'd love to have an hour by the end of the year. I generally try to have it fully written, like probably 10,000 words done by the end of December.
Yeah,
but they're not good words, but they're there.
They're there.
And start mucking around with it then.
You got to have that shitty first draft to start.
Yeah.
It's such a good combo, you and Chris as well. Like similar flavors, but not too similar. Just nice complementary vibes.
Yeah, she's great.
But both
and
of
two quite different audiences too, which is nice.
Yeah. God. I love it. I think I think a lot of people will be listening to this, especially people who are working on maybe their first festival shows and going, end of December. Oh, fuck. All right.
If you're on your first one, like obviously it's not going to be perfect. Nothing is. Nothing I've ever done is perfect. You just put it out, keep going. Like you can't stop and do that, you'd never finish.
Opening night has to start sometime around.
Yeah, man. And that's often, like I see you in Adelaide, it's fuck, this come around real quick. And you're already at Adelaide Fringe going, oh, man, I don't even remember all this.
Yeah.
Got to get it right.
Yeah,
But,
goddamn.
6-10 nights in a row, you should have it pretty humming along by then.
This is the thing. This is the thing. I feel like that listeners now will be going, all right, it's not all accidental with Heggie.
No. But also, I mean, I do so many shows, and I treat Adelaide, I don't want to diss their audience at all. Like, I want to have it pretty good by then, but obviously it's not as good as it is 3 months later. Mm-hmm. So you try to reflect that in your ticket prices and your attitude and be a bit nicer and everything. And then Melbourne, I do a lot of shows, but I also treat that like I've got to get this show better.
Yeah, and you're not. Yeah, I think I like as an Adelaide audience member where I grew up, it becomes a little old how many times a comedian says, well, really you're just Adelaide.
Disrespectful.
That'll be funny when I finish writing it.
Some of those big pricks who come here charge $200 for a stadium thing and they're reading off a piece of paper.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
That is fuck off to Australia.
Chris Rock, that is, not Chris Ryan, of course. Yeah. it's just not
But he's not the only one. There's lots of
exactly.
Just thought of something on the way over.
Yeah.
Did you, fuckhead?
But also, I'd almost prefer that I just thought of something on the way over that is contextual to like playing to us, so it proves that you've even thought of us in any way, because I'll take that. I don't mind a little bit of, I just saw this on the way here that's local. Because at least you're not on rails. Like, at least you're not just sort of like...
I know, but it's also, just you crazy Aussies stuff repackaged, which is offensive. And I don't mind a trial show. Do it, but maybe don't charge 3 figures and do a stadium. Do a smaller club and charge accordingly.
You're being called out, Jerry, and I know you listen. I know you listen.
Oh, Seinfeld does this. Does he come here and do trial shit?
Well, I know. I'm sure he was just fine.
It's just a fuck off because Australia becomes a dumping ground for them to disrespect.
And then also the broader brand of comedy. Also, people go, that was the one show they were going to see was Chris Rock or whatever. And they go, oh, well, that was only so good. They're not excited about going to see a local show as a result.
Well, they could see 10 shows for the same price. They don't.
And still get a pencil at the end of it.
Yeah. Buy a fucking pencil. You don't get given a pencil. You got to buy one. You got to buy a 3-pack.
Heggie, thank you so much for being on the show. People can find you online. I mean, this is going to freak you out if you have to plug your socials.
No, you'll find me. Just Google. I'm on the internet.
You're on the internet.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for making the time.
Thank you, man.
I hope you enjoyed that episode with Luke Heggie. I had a great time recording it, and my voice has maintained itself across the day. Make sure you check out Luke. You can find all of his stuff online on the dear internet. And I guess it's so funny as well that we sort of tell people's exact handles when you hope that everyone is sufficiently Googleable. But you can find Heggie on Instagram at Heggie Luke, Heggie, Luke. Always touring, always in your neighborhood. So funny, such a funny guy.